Hi everyone and welcome to this video. It's Thursday the 4th of December 2025 and I've just got back from Gauge Master Model Giant where I picked up this. Something I've been waiting for a very long time. So let's get inside and see what we've got. So here we are. This is the first chance to look at the new EFE Class 74 and there's an array of head codes to fit. They look very much like the DJ Models one, where you could slide them in from the outside, just push them in, but because of the fitment of the dummy coupling hook on the front of these, you can't do that. Then you've got your normal couplings if you want to fit them, which I certainly will one end. You've got some body brackets and some more pipes to fit. But let's spin her around and have a good close look at this lovely model. Way back when DJ Models brought out their Class 71s, we were tempted later on by a Class 74. Well, sadly that fell through, but step forward Bachmann EFE, and now in 2025 we have this splendid model to enjoy. From the outset we're going to have to take the body off in order to fit the head codes. Can't just leave it like this, but we will do a test on the test track to see how she runs before adding any more of the detailed parts. But first impressions are really good and it looks marvellous. Have you noticed the spoke wheels? Right, let's get her onto the test track and see what happens. Let's see if she's going to move. Now the first thing I notice, it's very sensitive to a controller. As soon as you move the controller from off, she's away. And that's probably due to a cordless motor. So just a reminder, don't use high frequency track cleaners, high frequency lighting units, or older controllers, resistance types, or controllers like the poor old clippers and things, which are marvellous machines, but they won't do her any favours. And you'll probably find that she wouldn't be that controllable anyway. The lights are not that bright. I've noticed in the instructions that they're switchable. But anyway, she goes. So let's detail her up, dress her up a little bit, and go from there. What are you thinking so far? I'm liking what I'm seeing. So excuse the handheld camera for a moment. Just thought I'd bring you a chance to see the detail of the wheels and the bogies, which are incredibly fine. Beautifully done. I've already checked the back-to-back. I know somebody said that their back-to-back was wrong, and it's well within gauge, no problem at all. Fits nice and snugly. And all the pipes are in place as well. That's another concern, so that's good. So I'm very impressed with the detail on the bogies. I mean, look at that. Incredible. Alright, I was looking, thinking, well, where's the shoe beam and pickups for the shoes? But they're here. That and that. That's the shoe in the middle there, look. And that would be dropped down onto the juice rail. So they are correctly modelled according to how the 74s had them. They were a different arrangement from the 71s that had the big beams. So we're all good. That's an important feature to have after all, but they are in their retracted form, which I suppose is safer. The four fairly tight body securing lugs are located here and here, and then in the middle of that bogie, so you'll see the indentations in the chassis to allow. I just used some thin bits of card and it is very tight, so just be careful. Once inside, we do have wires going up to the lighting and roofs, but these can be unplugged. They are quite fiddly. There's not a lot of spare flex, but you can see now what we find inside. So no easy way to access the motor. I imagine you'd have to undo these screws, or I shan't do that. Probably leave that one for Sam's Trains to do. The head codes do indeed slide in against the outside face of the body, and fairly firmly until they engage. They should stay in place. My chosen head codes were 92 at this end and bar 95 this end. Now it is a shame that the head codes can't be changed without taking the body off, because I've got a 4TC ready for this loco to push and pull, in which case I needed to display reds at one end. It's going to mean taking the body off every time. A little bit of a pain. So first disappointment, yeah, I get it. It's not going to be an easy thing to do, but you could do it on the 71 with a bit of fiddling from DJ Models, that is. But anyway, this is not the 71 from DJ Models. It's a totally different beast. The 4 provided bogie lifting or body lifting lugs are optional extras, and they fit in here. But if you do, I can see that restricting the movement of the bogie, so probably not going to be practical to fit. I do like the roof detail. These are simulating the fiberglass roof panels that they fitted on the 74s to aid with lighting inside. That's your little engine cooling fan, and the exhaust is there. It's right up in the roof near the cab end, which made a bit of a racket apparently. But by far and away the loudest thing on the 74 was the same as what was on the 71. It was the booster working. That remarkable piece of equipment. But we'll learn more about that later. So now it's running in time, and then we'll have a detailed look at her. Super close up. We're just about to begin the running in process. I'm using a Gagemaster Model D. That's their basic twin track controller. And I also fit 10 microfarads electrolytic non-polarized on the outputs to stop buzz and things for cordless motors. Now this has a cordless motor, but just listen as I start to crawl. Now it soon goes, which is not too much of a problem, but it does show that these are a very sensitive motor. Now if I add in my optional 200 microfarad smoothing and do the same, you see it's a lot quieter. But anyway, that may change after running in. And that is her running in session finished. Right, let's see how she can crawl now. That's pretty good, isn't it? Try the other way. Right, this is with my super smoothed output 200 microfarads extra. Let's just switch that out. So we're now down to the Model D plus 10 microfarads, which is really just filtering. Let's see what she's like. Well, yes, it's noisier, but look how much better the crawl is. Rather nice seeing those spoked wheels ticking over, isn't it? I mean, that noise we're hearing could just be a bit of vibration in the linkage to the bogies. Yeah, very happy with that. That's not bad at all. Now, what I'd like to try now is a comparison between the 74 and the DJ Model 71. There they are together, first time seen together. Rather marvellous, don't they? And one of the things with the 71 is people think it runs a bit slow because of the tiny cordless motor. So I thought we'd do a speed test setting the Gagemaster Model D to the same percentage and see what we see. So we'll start off with the 71 and see where we're going up to. So 71 just coming back, that's at 50%. Already I know the 74 is going to be a lot quicker. And in fact, the 74 is on 30%, the 71 is still on 50, so you can see quite a lot quicker. Maximum speeds, well, I don't usually like to do that. Let's take the capacitors out. Here comes the 71 maximum speed. And the 74 is almost double that. And I'm not at maximum, I'm at 70. 70 on the 74 and it's already getting scary. So yes, the 71 is quite a bit slower. There we are as a chance to compare again. 71, which gave rise to the 74. Now, I'll tell you what I'll do, I'll just turn them round so that we can compare the other side of each loco. Just a little bit further down the 71. So straight away this looks like the same side, doesn't it? Because if you look, we've got these vents here and they've got those new louvers there, and with no excuses offered for letting you see my bullied Class 12 shunter again. What more appropriate train for a Class 74 could we have than a lovely 4TC unit? The TC represents a good reason for the Class 74's existence. 4 reps were still being built, and so the Class 74 was important in providing traction. 10 of the 1958 built HA or Class 71s had been stored in 1964. In the late 60s, the locomotives were moved in groups to Crewe, where they were rebuilt into HB Class 74 Electro Diesels. The first rebuild example working under its own power from Crewe to Stewart's Lane Depot on the 10th of November 1967. They would soon come to be known as Big EDs. Buckeye couplers and high-level or control and brake jumpers were fitted to facilitate working with other EP stock, especially TC units in push-pull mode. Also, 2-tone air horns were mounted on the cab roof, replacing the original air whistle of the Class 71s. They were intended for use on boat trains to Southampton and Weymouth. It was envisaged that their dual power capability would greatly accelerate timings and reduce operational complexity. Originally, plans had been to number them E7001 to E7010, but once rebuilt they were E6101 and E6110. Later they were renumbered to 74001 to 74010 under the top system. Class 74s utilised a booster set, a motor generator and flywheel combination. This was to overcome the problem of gapping. The Class 71 booster set was retained in the rebuild, although weight considerations meant that the flywheel assembly and separate auxiliary generator and traction motor blowers were removed, resulting in the need to downrate the traction motors. The compact size of the booster permitted a small diesel engine and generator inside the body shell. Only a single booster was used, instead of two on the Class 70s. Thus, these locomotives could operate either from the third rail supply or from their Paxman 6YJXL Ventura diesel engine, downrated to 650 horsepower, well within the engine's range, extending service intervals. Buffer lock when pushing. Oh dear. I'll just have to see if I can put a longer reach coupling in. Now, I thought this was going to be a disappointment. I was getting buffer lock between the 74 and the TC, causing the TC to derail, but it appears to have been just a little bit of stiffness in the kinematic coupling, which wasn't allowing it to extend properly on the curves. So that's something you might just have to watch for. Now when she pulls away, you see there is a gap, but it's fine. The choice of the engine was good. 57 of these engines had been supplied for use in the Class 14s, and a further 20 had been supplied to the Scottish workshops of British Rail for the re-engineering programme of the Class 21, which resulted in the Class 29s. Thus, a proven track record and a plentiful supply of spares was assured. Now something really special. By chance, when I was 12, my friend Pete and I went to East Leigh one Saturday morning in December 1977. As well as all the Class 33s, 47s and even 31s, a Class 74 suddenly appeared on a special farewell tour. I was armed with a cassette recorder, and despite its simplicity here, 48 years later, after a bit of editing, I can share the actual sound of a Class 74 in action. Initially you hear the 12-year-old Mike announce Class 74.
74.
Then we hear the engine starting up. From 1.08 you hear the loco pulling away on diesel, a turbocharger making a good sound. Also you hear the high-speed vacuum exhauster and compressors working. Finally we hear the loco on electric power. The noise of the booster set is making loads of racket. As if this wasn't enough, I've been granted permission by Grahame Arnold, who recorded a 74 back in 1974, and his recordings are probably even better. Here we go with 74004 departing East Leigh on electric power. We hear the loco starting up, then the booster comes to life before the loco moves off. Then we have 74008 departing from Waterloo with the 2037 Channel Islands boat train in 1976. Grahame says you can clearly hear the turbo run down as the loco changes to electric power, and then the traction motors singing as that sparkling Class 74 acceleration kicks in on electric. This is a ride-on recording, giving us a great chance to enjoy all the sounds. Finally, we have 74002 at East Leigh in 1974, working on diesel power. Huge thanks to Grahame for allowing me to share these wonderful sounds with you all. On diesel, the overriding sound was the turbocharger on the Bachmann engine, whereas on electric supply the booster was mostly all you could hear. Overall, the Class 74s were not the success they deserved to be. They used complex electronics in a logic box configuration. They used AC power and could have had a power controller that allowed 0 to 100% power with no gaps at all. However, because they would be working with other multiple units and locos, set notches had to be built in, so shunt, series, parallel, weak field, etc. This inevitably meant that the Class 74s sometimes snatched or put down too much power, and many of the drivers I've chatted to about this class said that they were not ideal for freight for this reason, and more so because the loco brakes, straight air, seemed not to be very good at all. In fact, a fitted head was almost mandated on freight. There's a reason light locos have a speed limit, and for the 74s the driver had to be very forward thinking indeed when it came to applying the brake to stop. This was also the case for 33s and 73s, but to a far lesser extent. I have loads of information to share with you from those who drove these interesting locomotives, and even one ex-instructor However, this video would be far too long if I included all of them, so there will be a follow-up to this review in due course. Having run the model now, I really like it. Very sure-footed and can negotiate all of my layout and shunts as well as it runs an express. Niggles? Well, the buffer lock I experienced with the 4TC when pushing was annoying. However, I solved that by slightly easing the coupling out of the NEM pocket on the 4TC. It's still in there secure, but just gave me those few millimeters needed to prevent the buffer lock. The fact that the couplings sit at different heights doesn't help either. I've mentioned not being able to change the head code from outside, but really that's the case for all other models, so it's no biggie. What I have observed, and probably you have too by now, is the loco can make a rattly sound when it's moving off. I think this is simply vibration in the linkage from the motor to the bogie towers, but it will need to be kept under observation. All in all, a very welcome model for the southern region of BR. Cheers EFE, and cheers to all of you.